Let's talk. All right, so finally finished putting in the Mazda Speed 3 seats. I just got the rear seats back from the upholstery shop. Fronts have been in for a while. I'm gonna break it all down. I had a couple people on the group, or just ask about where the seats came from, how did they fit in, what did I have to do, how much did it cost, was it easy? I'm gonna break it all down. If anybody else is thinking about doing this, it sheds a little light on it. I'd seen a couple things on the forums. People said, oh, it can be done, it can't be done, it takes some modification, this and that. I'm just gonna go through my process. Like I said, there's a bunch of ways to do this. I'm sure this made the most sense to me to get all the things that I want. So we're gonna break it down. It was expensive, way more than I should have paid for stock seats from a different car. That's the biggest thing I want to point out right off the bat. Just to do the rear seats cost me just over $1,100. Actually, hang on. Oh God.
What's this, you fucking piece of shit?
$1,134.72 to customize rear seat parts. What I ended up having done was I had a set of leather rear seats from a Protege5 that were stained and nasty, and I had a set of Mazda Speed 3 rear seats that are also stained, but the right fabric pattern. So I had both. I tried test fitting the Mazda Speed 3 seats back here. None of the brackets lined up. The seats are too wide. Obviously, it's a totally different chassis. The base of the seat is a one-part design in the Mazda Speed 3s. Obviously, in the Protege5s, it's a split 60-40, and they flip forward. That's a weird mounting system. So they're easy to remove. Sorry, this water. What I wanted to do was combine the things I like about the Protege5 seat, not lose any functionality or safety. I have child seats that go back here. I wanted to retain the anchors. I wanted to be able to still flip it down to take things and haul them and stuff like that. I didn't want to mangle it. I'm going to cover the front seats as well. I just am thinking through the rear.
Pause.
The rear seats right now, and I will explain the process for all of it. Quickly, some big things. Armrest, cup holder, huge. It's super cool that the upholstery shop managed to keep that in. I don't know the details of what they did to make this work. They said welding was involved. I'm not entirely sure where, but I imagine it was for the armrest right here. This came with the MS3 seats. I was hoping to retain it. They managed to do it. I also had them recover the headrests from my spare set of Protege5 seats, because the pins that slip into the seat are bigger on the MS3 seats than they are on the Protege5 seats. So I couldn't just swap headrests straight over. They had to recover it. I'm gonna take some close-up shots of the rear seats so you can see how everything fits, and I'm gonna demonstrate how it all works. I'm gonna try and keep this video pretty short, but I want to cover as much as I can, so if anyone wants to do something similar, they can. God, this was dumb.
Armrest is functional just like it is in the Mazda Speed 3, really important. The seats are functional like Protege5 though, whereas they use all the Protege5 mounting hardware. And it comes out just like the Protege5 does. The one thing I did notice after doing this, the original seatbelt buckles do not reach the cubbies. Here you can see that the leather on the side of the seat is new. That's what the upholstery shop did. They also did that section between the seats just to fill in the gap. There just wasn't enough material on the original seats. So here you can see the seats fold down just like they would from the factory from the Protege5. Mazda Speed 3 front seats on planted brackets, and I retained the Mazda Speed 3 sliders.
Why on this seat Mazda said attach the feet with nuts and bolts. And then on this seat, they said, rivet that bitch.
So you have to drill out those rivets. You can unbolt the bolts on the passenger side, but you need to drill out and punch out the rivets, which that's information that I found online, but it wasn't very explicit on the process. So I just had to figure it out. You just have to drill them out, drill out the head of the rivet, and then you're good to go. All right, so another thing I ran into is the airbag harness, or the seat harness plug is different between the Protege5 and the Mazda 3. Not really super surprised there. So I paid $160 for the set of Mazda Speed seats from a parts car locally. I went and picked them up. For the donor Protege5 rear seat, I paid $70 at the junkyard.
So yeah, that's what it took. I'm happy with it. It was really bothering me having a mix match set of Protege5 cloth in the back and Mazda Speed in the front. I really liked how comfortable the Protege5 seats were. Like, they were fine from the factory, but obviously there's not a lot of bolstering and stuff like that. These have lumbar support, at least in the driver's side, which is cool. They look a little cooler. The bolsters hold me in just like a little bit better, but there are so many ways to go about what I've done that are less expensive and maybe just not as invasive or extreme. So, you know, if you think about doing something like this, I just want to be very upfront about what it cost me to do, because it's not cheap, and there's plenty of other things I could have spent money on this car to make it better than what I've done. But I'm really happy with how it turned out, just like my own spin on it. So this is what I'm ended up with. There's a bunch of other stuff I'm trying to get to this year. I'm going to try and make a bunch of other videos, because I know that a lot of the information for these cars is old. It's, you know, old forum posts that are dead, or the pictures don't work, or like you obviously if you have questions, like you know, you're not going to revive something that was asked over a decade ago. Like, you're not going to get an answer really. So I'm going to wrap it up. Autocross tomorrow. So hopefully some videos from that. I think it'll be fun. I've taken this car out once before and it was a blast, even though it's so slow. So now I have the suspension, you know, the MP3 ECU swapped in. So I'm curious to see how my times look compared to when I went over a year ago when everything was stock. So yeah, keep it cool.